Your soul seems to be restless, and your demise is giving Cameroonians sleepless nights. Hopefully your murderers be all arrested, exposed and brought to book, so your soul can finally rest in peace. Hi there to all viewers of Equinoxe Television, 6 p.m. by 2 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the news. Right away with our major stories tonight. The United Nations is calling on the government of Cameroon to step up the security of journalists in the country. The call comes after the brutal killing of a journalist in Cameroon, with the worldwide cries for its perpetrators to be brought to book. And youth in Cameroon are anxiously waiting for the discourse of President Paul Biya ahead of the 11th of February. That would be in 2 days. Stay with us for details and more. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the news. We begin right away with this story concerning youths in the country. Youths in Cameroon are worried about the contents of the head of state's message to the youth ahead of the National Youth Day celebration which comes up on the 11th of February. The youths highlighted rising unemployment, high cost of living and rising insecurity as major issues they hope the president talks about in his message. Immaculate Fogui tells us more.
Cameroonian youths are raising diverse expectations ahead of President Paul Biya's Youth Day message on February 10th at exactly 8 p.m. Rising unemployment is a major concern raised by many. I pray President Paul Biya tells us that more jobs have been created. Lots of youths now engage in fraudulent activities because they are idle, and the idleness is due to the fact that they are unemployed. The jobs available are very few. As a student, I really get worried when I notice that my elders, after completing school and later obtaining certificates, can't get a well-paying job. Many turn to become truck pushers, bike riders, to name but these. It is really sad. Another concern highlighted is that the president should ameliorate the living standards of Cameroonians by subsidizing the prices of basic commodities, which have lately been skyrocketing. Recently, the prices of basic commodities have increased. Many heads of families are unable to provide for their families as they should. Transportation fares also increased. We expect the head of state to say something that can appease the youths concerning this issue. It is often said that the future is bright, but what we see on the field is a bleak future. Things are getting expensive, but salaries are not increasing. How do we manage such a situation? Just a handful of youths are employed. Fingers remain crossed as these youths say the recent happenings in the country needs immediate and concrete intervention by the head of state.
And now we talk about young talent in Cameroon. A young man in Buda in the west region of the country is calling for government support to enable him attain his dreams. Idris, who abandoned school in Form 4, has always been dreaming of making cars. Today, he is proud of making one out of metals from his job site and says the government booster will change his life for the better. Smart Njikan Gabriel now tells us more.
22 years old Idris has become the role model for young people in Buda, west region of Cameroon. His handmade vehicle, assembled with the use of irons at his workshop, is now making him the most wanted young man in Buda. Idris says he was 8 years old that he started nursing hopes of making a car someday. I had this idea when I was just 8 years. Now I'm 22 years. I saw that going to a technical school I will delay because one needs to study hard before realizing his goal. I just had to move directly to a workshop to make my dreams come true.
Ça devait me ralentir. Une fois prendre mes 3 ans.
Unfortunately, Idris, who wasn't performant in school, had to abandon lectures when he was in Form 4 to see his dreams being realized. When I was in Form 3, I already had the idea, since I was not performing well with my classroom lessons. The only thing I could think of was working with irons. Immediately I had the idea. It took enough time before I presented the idea using wood to make a car. Before making this iron car, I went through several hurdles to come out with what I have now.
Ça a bien donné, et ce qui m'avait un peu dérangé, c'était la direction.
If coming up with a copy of a car took Idris several weeks, the young man is very confident of using just a month to make another car, on the condition that everything he needs will be made available. If I have the means, I can use 1 month to make a car. The car you've seen was made out of my little investment, but if another command comes with the necessary items available, I will use a month to complete it. I used the engine of a tricycle to make this one. Even though when he left school to work in a workshop, his family was angry, today some members of his family feel that Idris is a blessing in disguise.
I was not having enough confidence that I can say. I was just taking it like a joke. Then finally, as some people are seeing me like that, that's where we are. There is no money. If there was money, so we have already finished.
The people of Mbuda are now calling on the authorities to take up from where Idris has ended by bringing in experts to further the knowledge of Idris on car making, without which Idris will just be one of the brains that Cameroon will lose in the nearest future.
Several talents exist in Cameroon which just needs encouragement, be it financial or moral. Still talking about youth in the country, in the Mongo division of the littoral, the youth there complain of unemployment and poor living conditions. They say speeches have hardly helped their social situation. The youth have now resorted to working in plantations in deplorable conditions just to make ends meet. Innocent Aze, Kausus Mora.
As early as 8 a.m. daily, these young people in Jombe Pinja in the Mongo division of the littoral region make sure they eat something, no matter what or how little, before take off to work in the plantation, being the source of their daily bread. This food vendor says these youths usually eat on credit to pay later. She decides to trust and help them because the jobs in the plantations are hectic and require energy. This worker is just from buying food for 250 francs, hoping it will sustain him the whole day in the Popo plantation.
Terrasson 250, tu manges pour aller travailler jusqu'à peut-être 18h, 19h.
While in the plantation, they work to close at 6 or 7 p.m., earning 2,500 and 3,500 francs CFA.
Ça ne donne pas à la famille, ça ne donne pas avec les enfants à la maison.
These struggling youths say they face a lot of difficulties in the different plantations without support from the head of state, who has repeatedly encouraged them to work hard and be productive citizens. This, he says, has discouraged many of his peers from working in the plantations. All what they settle on is that the head of states who can elevate their status with all the resources at his disposal has not been faithful to his speeches each February 10 when addressing the youth, being it eve of the National Youth Day.
À la fête de la jeunesse,
I have the impression that the money disbursed by the President of the Republic to assist us ends in pockets of authorities here. We don't understand what is happening. They should have a fatherly heart because it is not fair.
Quand ça vient, on ne comprend pas. On se rend compte après que d'autres sont en train de merger, mais par contre...
President Paul Biya is highly expected to address the youth this February 10. This youth expects announcements of better mechanisms taken to ensure the financial grants to encourage them in the agricultural sector actually reach them.
Exactly, Innocent. Recently, the youth are anxiously waiting for President Paul Biya's message to the youth in Cameroon that would be tomorrow. And now we talk something else. Following the recent increase in the price of fuel by 100 francs, taxi fare might soon move up to 250, or from 250 francs to 300 francs in the day and 350 francs CFA at night per stop. So that was arrived at during a meeting between the Minister for Trade and Commerce, Luke Magloire-Mbarga at Tangana, and some professional drivers' trade unions in Yaoundé. That amount, though, is still to be made official. Glory Mala has more.
The meeting held by the Cameroon National Federation of Professional Drivers Trade Unions in Yaoundé Wednesday, February 2023 says the increase from 250 francs to 300 francs on taxi fare in Cameroon as proposed by the Transporters Trade Unionists has not been officially accepted by the government of Cameroon. The government says we need to wait for the official documents before new prices can go official. The increase in the price of fuel went operational immediately it was announced. The government should have called us for a discussion before increasing the price of fuel. Other measures should have been put together to accompany transporters. On the other hand, the Township Transport Company platform, Yango, has been banned by the Transport Minister Jean-Ernest Ngale. According to the release signed by the Minister on February 8, 2023, the activities of Yango, a public transport operating via a digital platform, has been suspended throughout the national territory until the company is up to standard. Meantime, the government of Cameroon finally adhered to the increase of the minimum wage of workers from 36,270 francs to 41,875 francs. The information was made public by the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Gregoire Oona. This comes amid threat from trade unions to boycott work. The recommendations made by the transporters' trade unions to increase taxi fare from 250 francs to 300 francs is due to the increase of petroleum products in Cameroon, and the pressure for the government to increase the minimum wage is due to the high cost.
And now road users such as taxi drivers and other commuters say the increase in taxi fare is sure going to negatively affect every other sector and might further reduce the living standards of Cameroonians. Lucille Yengu Esia spoke with some people here in Douala and now tells us more about their worries.
With the recent increase of interurban taxi fare from 250 to 300 francs by day and 300 to 350 francs at night, road users in the city of Douala say they are worried. The increase, according to locals, comes at a time when prices of basic commodities are skyrocketing in the market.
As far as the prices are increasing, I think that it will be very difficult for us, for the small families, for the small people, and I think that maybe the government should see how to do something to tackle this situation, and I hope that they will do that. I hope, because it's not easy for us every day. It's not easy with the life.
Is the syndicate problem, the transportation, because the petrol is too expensive. So those who are going to the bush to transport it, there is not easy for them to come and to sell it at the easy price.
Meanwhile, taxi drivers think the increase will help them manage the hike in fuel prices.
If the price change, if from tomorrow it's 300 francs,
we think that with 300 francs it will be better, because the petrol did not add only 20 francs or 25 francs. It's 100. 100 is much. It means that in 10 later we have 1,000 more. If each customer can add 50 francs, it will be better.
They add that they find it difficult to have customers because most of the customers go in for bikes.
Things are really difficult. Many bikes, when a person stop a taxi, you tell him the taxi is 250 francs. He will say that no, I prefer to take a bike. Bike is 200 francs, 150 francs. So things are very, and we don't have change. If someone will tell you that I have 150 francs inside 500. So things are really difficult.
The deliberation on the increase in taxi fare in Cameroon were made during a consultation meeting held with transporters, trade unions.
And now we talk sports. We take you to the southwest region. The president of the local organizing committee of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope has challenged different committee heads to do their assignments on time. Southwest Governor Bernard Okala-Bilai gave the instructions during the first meeting to prepare for the 28th edition of the race, which doubles as the 50th anniversary of the race that comes up on February 28, 2023. Let's now have more with Smart Njikan Gabriel.
600 athletes will challenge the Chariot of God as the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope enters its 28th edition this year. At a preparatory meeting that took place at the governor's office in Boya, Southwest Regional Governor, who doubles as the head of the local organizing committee, has called for seriousness and collaboration amongst the different committees.
We must locally mobilize ourselves, as I said in my speech, to give this event, which is a world event, international event, the grandiose it deserves. We have programmed a lot of activities. We're not limited to the activities only with the race. Before the race, 2 or 3 days before the race, there will be a lot of animation. The sons and daughters of this region to mobilize to show that the Southwest region is alive. The Southwest region is dynamic.
The first preparatory meeting was an occasion for the head of the Mount Cameroon Race Project, Efekin Joe Andrew, to highlight on the different activities that will be done this year.
We have already selected the athletes. 257 of them participated during the test race in Boya, and we are in the process of selecting the best 100 that will be able to compete for the Southwest region. And as far as we are concerned today, we have application for hostesses, those who will be receiving the guests who will be coming into Boya. We are going to select 30 hostesses to 40 who will be part of this great event. The Secretary General of the Federation has already gone on with the selection of the technical officials who are going to supervise the race from Moliko Stadium to the summit. And people who are going to, the porters who are going to carry water up the mountain, are already sending in the application. And in days ahead, about 400, 500 of them will be selected.
Apart from the security and health committees, the chiefs of Fako Division, headed by His Royal Majesty Chief Robert Isuka Endeli, have a key role to play during this year's edition. The 28th edition of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope will also mark the 50th anniversary, with the major innovation being that the winners in the senior women and men's categories will back home the sum of 10 million francs CFA without taxes being deducted.
And viewers, before we move on to the second part of the news, let's take these elements getting to us. The United Nations has called on the government of Cameroon to step up the security of journalists in the country. Their call comes as the national and international communities have been crying foul following the brutal killing of a journalist in Cameroon, Martin Zogo, in Yaoundé. Babila Jonathan has more.
Journalists assassinated in 2 weeks in the Republic of Cameroon after Amplitude FM radio station manager Martinez Zogo followed Orthodox Reverend Father Jean-Jacques Olabebe, radio presenter. With regards to this, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights said it is deeply concerned for the safety of journalists in Cameroon. According to the Office of the High Commissioner, radio presenter and Orthodox priest Jean-Jacques Olabebe was apparently shot dead by unidentified gunmen. He was found dead February 2nd near his home in the Mimboman neighborhood of Yaoundé. His murder came 11 days after that of Martinez Zogo. In a statement, the spokesperson of the Human Rights Office of the United Nations in Nairobi, Saif Magango, said Olabebe and Martinez Zogo were both outspoken voices against corruption, using their radio platforms to expose cases of alleged embezzlement of public funds. In recent weeks, Olabebe has been the first to demand that the culprits be held accountable for the assassination of Martinez Zogo, his close associate. The UN Human Rights spokesperson also highlights the cases of at least 3 other Cameroonian journalists who reported in January serious threats from unidentified persons, while noting President Paul Biya's involvement in the investigation and arrest of suspects in the Martinez Zogo case. The UN Human Rights underscores the need for independent, effective and impartial investigations in both assassination cases and the punishment of all those found guilty of the murder. It has urged Cameroonian authorities to take all necessary measures to ensure the security and safety of journalists. On the importance of this, the UN Human Rights spokesperson said, I quote, "A free, independent and diverse press is essential for citizens to be informed and able to hold public institutions to account."
And that was what we put together for you on the first part of the news. Viewers, don't go away. Talking Point comes up next. Welcome back. Our guest tonight is a civil society actor, Davidson Ate. Davidson, thank you so much for accepting to be our guest tonight. We are going to be talking about the recent happenings in the country, beginning with the brutal killing of a journalist in Yaoundé, Martinez Zogo. It has been making news not only in Cameroon but across the globe or across the world. As a civil society actor, what do you make of the killing brutally of a journalist in your country?
Yeah, I think generally it is horrible, as everybody has remarked, and I'm particularly saddened for the family that have lost such a dynamic young man, and the country that has actually lost a very promising journalist. I think that was not necessary, and especially the brutality. It just shows how far we have gone in our cruelty in the society. We've known this kind of cruelty before, but we think this one went way, way, way too far. It's a sad situation, and we need to do something. We need to do something. We need to bring the commandeers and the perpetrators to book.
Oh, most Cameroonians think the brutal killing of a journalist and in Cameroon, and also the killing of another journalist which happened some days back, seems to be tarnishing, those crimes seem to be tarnishing the image of the country, Cameroon, and might somehow deter even investors and tourists from coming to the country. Are you of that same opinion?
Yeah, that is for sure. And what is very clear is that we are being ruled, we are being governed, and we have been so for many, many years by people who don't give a damn about this country, who care only about what they can get from the country, and even what they get is not satisfying. They have to be a bit more cruel. It doesn't mean one penny doesn't add anything to their to what they think. It's just the power grab and the cruelty with which they are doing it now is really beyond any reasoning. It's tarnishing the image, they don't care. It's chasing away investors, they don't care. And quite honestly, collectively, we do not know where we're going to. It's just getting worse from day to day. We would have thought that by this time, Cameroon will be way far advanced and thinking more of approaching that date of 2030, 35 for emergence and so on. But what is happening is just horrible.
And now another recent happening has been the increase in the price of fuel by about 100 francs CFA, and subsequently we just listened in the news there that the price of a taxi drop might have to increase from 250 francs to 300 francs CFA, and that might affect other sectors subsequently. Do you think Cameroonians are going to cope with this increasing cost of living?
And you're very right, but it was inevitable. There is no way you could increase the prices of fuel and ask the people who use fuel not to increase their own costs. Where they get the money to buy the fuel from is the cruel part of the whole thing is that the salaries do not go up in the same commensurately. There are sectors of the economy and of the population that are stagnant, that have been stagnant for years. I think of the retired people, my mates. Our amount of money they give us is exactly what they've been giving us for donkey years. COVID came and helped us somewhat, and I think they increased it by 10%. But that 10% really was a drop in the ocean. So the real thing is that the cost of living should keep pace with any increases in prices. And nobody should tell me that we can't afford it. We can afford it. Cameroon has the minerals, it has the productivity. I know we're a lot based on agriculture, and this has been disturbed recently by the troubles which the government, the powers that be, have definitely refused to settle it. And instead of settling it, giving the atmosphere, the environment for people to work farms, do agricultural things and produce products and increase their living, they prefer to go borrow money which they don't even put into use. They don't even put for what it has been borrowed for. They swindle it. They don't even swindle it through the banks. Now we find them in various people's houses and being transported in what we call the sac banjok, which is terrible. So they need to increase the financial ability of the populations, increase their salaries, give them industries, give them work, so they can earn the money, and you can increase the prices of fuel to whatever things you want.
You just mentioned agriculture and our productivity. Some people are of the opinion that rather than taking some corrupt officials to prison, the money should be retrieved and reinvested into the society, into other sectors, so the youth in Cameroon can get employed and better their living conditions. What do you think about that, Davidson?
Cameroonians are very resilient. They work very hard. They do everything not to crawl. When I take my own people from the northwest, considering all what they have gone through, they are still very, very bouncy. They are still very, very hardworking. I don't see us crawling too much. There will be a lot of suffering, no doubt. There's a lot of loss, especially in the sector of education. And but I think even in 5 years' time, we'll come through. I think we have a very, very industrial, very active diaspora who help, and I think that's where a lot of the support is coming from now.
talked about, you mentioned agriculture and our productivity, and some people are of the opinion that rather than taking corrupt officials to prison and nothing is being done or the money is being lost in the air, it should be retrieved, collected, and maybe reinvested back into the society, so the young people who are complaining of unemployment, poor living conditions can finally have something to do and better their social situation in Cameroon. Are you of that same thoughts?
It's obvious that's what should happen. They have tried it. Even the World Bank, FME and all that, they've tried to contribute. But when this money comes, the people in the ministries steal them. I remember at one time there was some version for agriculture for growing corn, and a lot of the money was just, or a lot of the corn seeds that were provided were just swindled by the people working in the ministries, giving it to their own people. There was no structural way of doing it. Yes, you're right. The government should be behind it, as has been done over the years that turned Cameroon into a green economy. But when it comes, people nowadays know their business is to steal the money, is to swindle it, is to take it for themselves, and don't even use it for the purpose for which it was meant.
And now we can't end this interview without talking about the Anglophone crisis, because it has also made news somehow recently. Canada, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Canada, who actually sent out a communique affirming that her country has been talking with various factions of the separatist fighters to seek for a concrete end to the Anglophone crisis, which has been going on for about 6 years now. But the government of Cameroon was somehow hesitant, because through the Minister for Communication, the government said they haven't mandated any party to mediate for an end to the crisis in Cameroon. As an Anglophone and who has been seeing his or her relative suffering the northwest and the southwest because of the war, what can you make of the exchange of communique, if I should put it that way, between the Canadian Foreign Ministry and the government of Cameroon through the Minister for Communication?
Well, first of all, the news that somebody had opted to mediate and that both parties had accepted came as very, very good news. The outing by the communication minister was cold shower. There's cold water thrown on the process. We are disappointed, heavily disappointed, but we want to tell the Minister of Communication that we don't believe him, that we do believe, we as the people suffering, do believe that the Canadians did engage with the government and with the opposing partner to try and get a solution. So them saying, in the manner they said it, that they didn't really give their authority, is just playing to their constituency. I don't know what constituency that is, but we don't buy it at all. And that it is time they really came down and took this serious. Let's sit down. Let's sit down as Cameroonians, as man to man, and work this thing out. They shouldn't be scared. They shouldn't be frightened. It's not certain that if we sit down and talk frankly, that the Anglophones will necessarily go away. We are threatening to go away because we really believe that we voluntarily, happily came into this union, and it failed. It failed because of the way they manipulated it, because the way it was run, because of the things that were done. Maybe if they come around the table and we explain to them and we tell them what was wrong and we set it right, it will work. There is the federalists, those who want the thing to be federal. That's the way we came together. That's the way we want to be. But they are pushing a very good faction to talk of the option of separation. And they are letting this faction gain ground on a daily basis. You know, there are people now who were not for separation, but who now swear only for separation. And it's because of the attitude of the government. And this government is run by people who don't even understand the situation, who don't care about the situation. I don't think if you ask the Minister of Communication, if he really understands what took place in 1960, 1961, and then 72, and later on the complete withdrawal of the Republic of Cameroon from the Federation or from the unity, whether he can really explain what really happened in an honest manner. But the solution is there, and we need to talk.
And now, Davidson, just to mention too that Canada actually came up with a second communique insisting again that they actually talked with Cameroon and also separatist factions for a concrete solution to be sought to the crisis. Canada insisting a second time. Do you think there is bad faith somewhere, or there are some people who can be considered as warmongers?
That the people in the government, first of all, the conflict is between the Anglophones and the government of this country. It's not between the Anglophone, which is the English-speaking parts of Cameroon, against the rest of Cameroon. No, it's by the governing party. My recommendation with that, the government of Cameroon come down from their high horses and sit around the table, a round table, a table that is everybody is level. Look at ourselves eye to eye and speak about the reunification. Let's start it from where it began and walk it step by step. And it'll be easy. We love each other. We want to be with each other, but we cannot be the way it is now. And a word to these government ministers: the Anglophones will not give up. They will not give up. They will not be coward. No amount of journalism talking in the press, making announcements, and the great leader has said this or that will convince them. It is in their souls. It's in their belly. It will continue even after the present generation is gone. It's a great cheat. We have been cheated, and we need to sort that out. But we are magnanimous enough to accept whatever resolution we come up with as a consensus on both sides. Otherwise, it will just go on and go on and go on.
Davidson, you were talking about your personal recommendations, what should be done for this crisis to finally come to an end. I am forced to say to a final end. But I was asking you a while ago, do you think there is bad faith, or there are some warmongers following the second communique by the Canadian government insisting that they actually discuss with all the parties to come to a table and talk frankly, like you said, man to man, to ensure that this crisis can finally come to an end? Do you see bad faith somewhere?
Yes, of course. On both sides. When I talk of the both sides, on the separatist sides, I'm thinking of those criminals who have suddenly attached themselves or who are acting in the name of the movement, the crisis, to make money for themselves and terrorize families, gentlemen, and so on, and ask for whether it's granite money or whether it's whatever. But also on the part of the government, the military is making a big fortune out of it. And it's easy to know. Cameroon is not such a big country, it's not so complicated. Look at the people you have sent there. Look at the people who are in charge of the war chest, who do the money the government with. See whether their lives haven't changed. You'll find out that it has changed a lot. And they have no interest in it coming to an end. They're making a big fortune out of it. There's no doubt in the mind of anybody. You know, it's the same way that when you send customs, Cameroon customs to the border, whether it be it in the Com or down to the Noun or up in the north, they come back very rich. I know somebody from my village, a simple foot soldier. When he came back, he built a stone house in my village, and investigation done, truth be told, he had worked in the north. So he made money out of it one way or the other.
Thank you so much, Davidson Ate, for accepting to be our guest tonight on Talking Point, and hope to have you some other time. And viewers, thank you so much for being with us on Equinoxe Television. Don't go away. Our programs continue. Bye-bye for now.